Greetings and good evening from all at Takshila Educational Society. Beyond Boundaries is a series of virtual sessions initiated by Takshila Educational Society to foster learning, self expression, and creativity. In order to facilitate better understanding of our world and its concerns, today we extend our wings to include student orators from Delhi Public School, Patna, Pune, Ludhiana, and Coimbatore under the aegis of Takshila and DPS Society. It is an endeavor to propagate diverse thoughts, themes, and perspectives. Dreams have always expanded the understanding of reality by challenging our boundaries of the real, of the impossible. So, through this virtual rostrum of Beyond Boundaries of the Takshila Educational Society, we are delighted to present the debate competition open mic, a battle of oratory skills, where students of class 9 and 10 from Delhi Public School, Patna, Pune, Ludhiana, and Coimbatore will take center stage to propose and oppose the motion Science has failed to tame nature. To judge these budding Ciceros, we have a panel of eminent personalities. I am pleased to present Mr. Kunal Ray, Assistant Professor of English Literature, Flame University, Pune, who teaches courses in literary and cultural studies. He also regularly writes for the Hindu and the Hindustan Times. With him on the panel is Dr. Harini Jayaraman, formerly Professor and Chairperson, Department of English at Amrita School of Engineering, Coimbatore, who's taught undergraduate and postgraduate courses in language and literature. I also welcome Dr. Hitan Vohra, Professor and Head of Department of Anatomy from Dayanand Medical College and Hospital, Ludhiana, a prestigious institute in Punjab. Also on the panel is Dr. Shaila Rayana, Associate Professor and Head of Department English, Patna Women's College. She has 17 years of teaching and research experience. The order in which the teams will speak today and who interjects which team has been decided through a draw of lots earlier. For the smooth conduct of the event, we are going to follow some rules. Each speaker, for and against the motion, will get 3 minutes to present his or her view. The interjector will get 1.5 minutes to interject each speaker from a particular team, and both question and answer to be over within that duration. So short pithy questions from the interjectors and no counter questions but crisp answers from the respondents is encouraged. We are now all set to debate on the floor of the House the motion, Science has failed to tame nature. And I invite the first speaker, code F01, to present her views for the motion. Code F01.
Every single thing in existence is worthy of supreme reverence. And for sure, nature deserves to be foremost among the powers to be esteemed. It is not something for human beings to exploit solely for their own interest. Good evening, honorable members of the jury, esteemed audience, and my worthy opponents. I, code F01, stand wholeheartedly for the motion Science has failed to tame nature. The battle of nature versus science is the one that has been argued for centuries. It's been debated by artists in the eras of Romanticism and Enlightenment, scholars whose focus is in the realm of academia, and even politicians in modern day elections. Consequently, the two are often presented in opposition. There are those who appreciate the authentic beauty of natural elements and those that say science can perfect what nature got wrong. Scientific development is a wonderful tool that undoubtedly enhances the quality of human life. But it is also beyond doubt that whenever humans have considered themselves above nature, The earth has repeatedly taught us otherwise. The 2013 Uttarakhand floods, which obliterated all evidence of human creations, are a grim example. For those who dismiss the advocates of nature as ignorant of science, I would like to highlight the fact that if science had indeed been able to tame nature, we wouldn't be in our homes attending classes, sitting across mindless, emotionless screens that only know to obey commands. The point I'm trying to make here is that just because we keep progressing by the day and advancing towards the modern era should not amount to assuming that we are at par with nature, let alone thinking we have tamed it. Every time we have exploited nature under the garb of science and development, we have faced dire consequences. Talking of the future, the changing climate is estimated to lead to 200 million climate refugees by 2050. That is 200 million people who will be forced to migrate because we refuse to change our ways and move towards a greener path. Why go that far? The Beirut explosion has already rendered 300,000 people homeless. It is a stark reminder for us that we have gone too far in our attempts to tame nature. The solution. The solution is to stop looking at science and nature as polar opposites. Science has existed forever in nature, much before humans started discovering it. Science flows from nature and must be used in peace with it if we are to move forward sustainably. As Francis Bacon put it, nature to be commanded must be obeyed. Thank you.
Now to interject F01, I invite interjector code I01. Interjector I01.
Good evening. My question is directed to code F01. You have glorified nature, but without science, we wouldn't be able to reach the place we are today. If we entirely let go of the reins and allow nature to grow unruly, how? Do you expect us humans to lead a comfortable life?
See, we don't understand the power of nature because we don't live with it. Nature is designed to sustain humans, and the sad part is we refuse to accept this reality. We, as humans, and our scientific achievements are merely a small and vulnerable part of this dynamic earth and its forces. The proper use of science is not to conquer nature, but to live in it. If I talk about the current scenario where lakhs and lakhs of people are dying due to the virus, how has it come about? It is a sad product of man trying to tame nature, going beyond the natural ways. We would never be able to solve the mystery of nature because, in the last analysis, we ourselves are a part of the mystery that we are trying to solve. It is undeniable that, in the end, after all this debate of science and nature, it is nature which will turn out victorious because nature, my friend, is eternal and we are mere mortals. And it is a foolishness if we think that we can surpass the ultimate driving force of Earth. No amount of science or technology can prevent cyclones or earthquakes or floods.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Inviting A01 to put forth her arguments against the motion. A01.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Superman. For years, our minds have been set to live with the notion that humans are minuscule and indifferent compared to the universe. Beings that transcend the limitations only in fiction. But then there existed some gritty souls who believed that someday surpassing these limits could be a reality. My warm greetings to all the people virtually present with us. I, code A01, stand wholeheartedly against the motion. Science has failed to tame nature. Life originated as a product of an accident that created an organic soup which was never meant to be there. Over the course of millennia, evolution slowly brought us to the point where our brains manifested the power of innovation. And incidentally, this very power to review and refurbish things has put us in the driver's seat. Scientia, the Latin word for science, represents an urge to know. Our urge to know the reason behind everything is why we have existed so long beyond our expiration date. If nature were not tamed, most of us, or probably all of humanity, wouldn't be existent right now. We don't have razor sharp fangs or the strength of a mammoth, yet we are cunning creatures with shrewd minds who can build lasers capable of cutting through diamond or hydraulic presses capable of compressing steel. Has our curiosity taken us too far? Is defying the cruel fate nature had in store for us unethical? I wonder if that's true, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are planning to use CRISPR-Cas9 technology to build enhanced humans free from disease and with an even greater lifespan. Nanotechnology is advancing day by day to an extent that human implants of nanobots seem easily achievable. This makes the fine line between man and machine even more faint. For sure, it's undeniable that there are its downsides. There's risk of depleting natural resources, but science is the key to circumventing the problem that it created. There's a risk of nuclear fallout, but that's where our moral compasses need to take charge. I'd rather die peacefully in an advanced civilization, having lived a healthy and comfy life, instead of being eliminated as a primitive ape who doesn't even understand the concept of love, just fearing predators and searching brainlessly for food or a mate. I believe all of you would choose the same too. Thank you and have an awakening day.
Interjector I01 to question A01. Interjector I01.
My question is directed to code A01. The epitome of your speech seems to belittle nature. Man's arrogant way of thinking has led you to believe that nature wreaks havoc. How can you accuse nature, which is supreme, of ever destroying man's ideas and creativity?
Despite the fact that nature is unpredictable, we have a 7-day weather forecast with 80% of accuracy in our hands. Adding up to this statement, I'd like to mention about the cyclone Amphan that hit the eastern part of India on 16th of May 2020. It was because of the prior predictions that people took all the measures and many innocent lives were saved. If we talk about the Beirut explosion that took place, ammonium nitrate, the fertilizer that is being blamed for the explosion, acts like a bomb when it comes to heat and pressure. And I'd also like to highlight the fact that since 2014, it was stored in a warehouse. More than 2,000 tons of the fertilizer was stored in a warehouse without any safety measures. I'd like to conclude by saying that science is a beautiful blessing to all of us. I'd like to say that we are the masters of this tool. It is up to us how we are going to use it, what we are going to use it for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. I now invite code F02 to take the floor. Code F02.
Esteemed members of the jury, worthy opponents, and the engaged audience, good evening. I, code F02, seek to establish beyond reasonable doubt that science is indeed failing to tame nature. There is an increasing confidence in the claim that COVID-19 has likely originated in the Wuhan laboratory. The story gets better and better. However, one thing is clear that this was man-made. This effort for a scientific discovery has led to this incurable pandemic unleashed on humanity that has disrupted our lives like never before. No scientific intervention has come to our rescue in containing the spread of the deadly virus. With the death toll mounting every minute as we speak, screaming loud and clear, science has failed to tame nature. Want me to remind you more? Here we go. Do you remember the tragic Sichuan earthquake of May 12, 2008, which killed an estimated 80,000 civilians It was feared that the earthquake must have been induced by the weight of the largest dam in the area, the Zingpingpu Dam, in a phenomenon known as reservoir-induced seismicity. And being a fundamental reason for the tragedy, the dam itself was consumed by the earthquake. This only reinforces science has failed to tame nature. History is a great teacher. Japan naval forces attacked the US naval base, Pearl Harbor, in 1941, and US used atomic bombs to retaliate and attacked Hiroshima and Nagasaki, thus ending the Second World War, killing 80,000 people then and 10,000 subsequently due to radiation exposure. It is obvious that the scientific discovery of atomic bombs and a lot more of destructive weapons has led to the loss of a large number of innocent lives. Science has failed to tame nature. Nature is something unpredictable and uncontrollable. There are times when science has lost its identity before the destructive power of nature. But what we need to focus on is to stop assuming that science can come to our rescue when humanity is in the verge of complete annihilation. Advanced technologies and inventions cannot stop a natural disaster like a flood or a drought, can it? Science is powerful, I agree, but it definitely has certain limits. Science is basically the study of natural world through observations and experiments. To be precise, it is a part of nature. And being a part of nature, it cannot try to control or tame the wholesome unit. I would like to end with a stern warning that in the name of economical, scientific, and industrial development, we must not hinder the natural process as we will hinder our very existence by doing that. Thank you.
Now it is time to invite the next interjector, code I02, to question F02. Interjector I02.
Good evening. My question is to F02. If you consider nature to be the ultimate nurturer, superseding science in its power, would you like to go back and live in the dark ages, sans all the comforts and medical protection of science?
I do appreciate the ability of science for modernizing and simplifying our life, but certain section of society and the humanity are misusing the power and ability of science for their own selfish needs to cause tragedy and chaos. And science is becoming a puppet in those evil hands. That must be stopped. The positive phase of science can be retained, but the evil hand should be cut down as soon as possible, and science must not be let to exceed its limits whatsoever. Else it will turn against our entire humanity in the near future. Science may be helpful in certain situations, but every time during a scientific invention, there is a side effect coming with it. And scientific ideas with side effects implemented will cause irreparable destruction to the entire humanity. That must be stopped. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you both. Next, I invite A02 to oppose the motion. Code A02.
Good evening, honorable members of the jury. Good evening, honorable members of the jury, esteemed audience, and my worthy opponents. I, code A02, in clear conscience take the stand against the motion. Science has failed to tame nature. According to evolution theory, we humans are evolved beings. As we slowly started to think, we got civilized and industrialized. Then we started inventing, developing technology, and now we are here. Look around you. We are surrounded by the marvels of modern age. And the thing instrumental in all this is what we call science. Science is nothing but the study of nature. But without science, we would have never understood the mysterious ways in which nature operates and would remain cavemen as we were 200,000 years ago. Today, as we hear discourses and debate on how science and technology is destroying nature, we have so conveniently forgotten or ignored how science has helped nature and humanity. It isn't just man, science has also helped to maintain the delicate balance in nature. How, you ask? Well, sample this. Technology applied in agriculture to boost the yield and make crops disease resistant is one great example. In addition to vitamin A enriched golden rice, scientists have been able to create other varieties of rice which are resistant to flooding and drought tolerant cereal. Another scientific intervention to our rescue is the use of microorganisms for cleaning oil contaminated environments in a process called bioremediation. Scientific technology has been acting savior in many ways. Researchers have been using the latest technology to investigate why species are declining and how we can save them. These examples prove the importance of science for both man and his environment. Scientific and technical innovation will be critical in averting the environmental apocalypse looming large before us. We have all talked about how science has its limitations and also adverse effects, forgetting that nature is not at benevolent best all the time. Nature also has its flaws, and science is helping nature to rectify it. Take, for instance, the havoc wreaked by polio in our country when we thought of polio as an incurable disease. That is when science played the savior again. We developed vaccines to prevent it, and now India has become a polio free country. Science is also constantly evolving to keep in pace with the needs and demands of time and constantly fixing the problems it may have inadvertently created. Today, as the world is grappling with the deadly pandemic, we again look up to science to battle it. We are all waiting with bated breath for the vaccine against the deadly virus to come to the market and be mass produced as the only viable way to stop this nightmare, preventing all, pinning all our hopes on one thing. You guessed it, science. So I strongly believe that nature needs science to sustain. And with the exponential growth of technology, there is no doubt science will take over nature someday. Thank you.
Interjector code I02 to question A02. Interjector I02.
Good evening. My question is to I02. Good evening. My question is to A02. Pernicious pandemic, alarming locust swarm, ravaging Amphan, and ruinous floods in Mumbai. Has science been able to tame these calamitous phenomena?
I've already mentioned in my speech that science is indeed taming these phenomena. As I said, scientists have been able to create varieties of rice which are resistant to flooding and drought tolerant cereal. And I would like to clear some points. Scientific invention's ultimate goal is to serve the humanity, help nature and humanity. So it can never be a disadvantage. All the disadvantages that we consider it to be of science is not exactly because of science. It is caused because a section of the mankind is misusing science for their own needs, for their own profit. So government should frame proper laws to prevent this instead of blaming science. And we all talked about how science has its limitations and also flaws, but we forgot that nature also has its flaws. See how many people in a country are born without eyesight. Science is rectifying nature's flaws by giving them eyesight and making them see the beautiful world around us. And science is also constantly evolving and fixing the problems it may have created inadvertently. At the beginning, we invented
Thank you both.
travel.
Thank you both. Your time is up. It is now time to invite F03 to put his views for the motion. Code F03.
Nature knows no indecencies. It is science who creates them. Good evening, judges. I am code F03. I would like to use this opportunity to present my views for the motion. Science has failed to tame nature. We often forget that we are nature and that science is born out of nature and it does not have the capability to solve the mysteries of nature. So many scientific laws have been made out of nature such as the sun, the wind, gravity, etc. It is bizarre that science thinks of taming nature, the creator. Can science, for once, control the rotation and revolution of the earth? Or can it control the rising and setting of the sun? I believe we all know the answer, that science is incapable of doing so. Also, there is no better designer than nature. I am sure everyone will agree with me. The mountains, the sea, the continents, the oceans, how it all perfectly fits in. And let's forget the beauty. Let's look at the healing aspect of nature. Only one side hit it can reduce heart rate, blood pressure, and stress, which are in fact aspects of science. And again, as my worthy opponents mentioned about the disasters, I would like to point out that most of these natural disasters occur because science interferes with nature. And the disaster, the wrath of Mother Nature, is beyond the control of science. Millions of people lose their lives due to these disasters, and science has failed in helping them. Let me give you an example. Let's recall the Bhuj earthquake, which occurred back in 2001, measuring 7.9 on the Richter scale. It had the intensity to not only shake India, but neighboring countries were affected too. The tremors are still felt in the hearts of those who saw the destruction from their eyes, and some still live in cracked houses beyond repair. So my question is, where was science? Finding some formula? I would like my dear opponents to know that whenever there has been such a natural calamity, science has been a helpless bystander. I repeat, a helpless bystander. I firmly believe that science has failed to tame nature. Let's look at the most prime example which stares at our face, the COVID-19 virus, which threatened our existence back in December 2019. It has been more than 8 months. The entire world has come to a standstill. And while science is trying to find a cure for this deadly virus, it has claimed more than 700,000 lives. In fact, what has saved more lives is the immunity which has been imbibed in us by nature. In such a situation, science is just sitting in the corner and watching people die. As to conclude, science has limits, but nature is limitless. Nature is the all-powerful. How much ever science and technology gets upgraded, and how much ever science dreams of taming the uncontrollable nature, one tsunami, one earthquake, or maybe one flood will crumble all technology to pieces. With this, I rest my case here. Thank you.
It is now the turn of interjector I03 to put forth his questions to F03. Interjector I03.
Good evening. I am I03 and my question is to F03. Mr. Speaker, I very well agree to your statement that nature hits us every now and then with natural calamities or viruses. But then how is the humankind still surviving? Why isn't our race extinct? Isn't it because of science and technology which has made us compact enough to at least stand a chance against these calamities? Please justify.
Thank you very much for the question. But I beg to differ with you. Yes, I do agree that nature puts forward natural disasters all the time. But has science done any better? I would also like to point out that many of these disasters occur because science pokes nature, science intervenes with nature. And as of science helping humankind, I would like to give a very current example of the COVID-19 virus. People are still dying outside. The virus is still present, and it has been more than 8 months. This is not taming nature. This is not taming nature. I repeat, it is not taming nature. Nature is wild. Nature is the creator. Nature cannot be tamed. Science does help humankind, but people are still dying. The virus is still out there. Thus, I would like to tell you that this is not taming nature, and science has failed in helping the millions that lose their lives. Thank you.
Thank you both. Your time is up. To oppose the motion, I invite A03 to the podium. Code A03.
Good evening, honorable members of the jury, esteemed audience, and my worthy opponents. I, code A03, stand wholeheartedly against the motion science has failed to tame nature. The very thought that science has failed is like committing a sin in the first place. Nature is wild, and the wild needs to be tamed. Nature has offered in plenty: forests, mountains, rivers, caves. So do we live in caves or drink from rivers? So my friend, every time we drink clean water from water filter or enjoy cool air from AC, we must thank science every day for making our life beautiful. Let's go by facts. My worthy opponent spoke about earthquakes. Well, nature has been widely causing destruction one after another, and science has faced it with full conviction. What has nature given Japan? It's more a land of earthquakes than a land of rising sun. But you will be amazed to know how science has tamed and brought nature to its knees. 87% of the buildings in Tokyo are earthquake resistant. The smartphones trigger an alert before any emergency. Science has flexed its muscles and crippled these violent earthquakes such that even a 9.0 magnitude earthquake in 2011 had 0 deaths and no injuries. Nature, the so-called creator, is sometimes so cruel that it takes away the power of creation from the woman who is naturally the only carrier of humanity. That's where IVF, in vitro fertilization, has come up as a magic wand that completes the journey from womanhood to motherhood. So it's science and not nature. I repeat, it's science that has come to the rescue where nature has failed to do its duty. Thus, to reiterate my point of view, I would like to say that everyone feels that COVID-19 is a situation that has made us helpless. But my question is how? Has anything stopped? Well, online classes are going on. Thanks to science, people are operating from home and life is still going on. I could not think of any better example than this virtual activity that is happening right now. As to conclude, I would like to say that where nature is a destroyer, science is the protector, the savior. Science is knowledge, understanding, wisdom, and the driving force of this civilization. Thank you. I rest my case here.
Interjector code I03 will question A03. Interjector I03.
My question is to A03. Mr. Speaker, you claim of taming nature, where half of the country is ravaged by floods and the other half is succumbing to all those rainfalls. Where is your science now? Where is your savior science right now? Why isn't it coming forward to solidify its claim of taming nature?
Well, thank you for your question, but I beg to differ with you on this. I strongly believe that science has been successful in taming nature as and when required. No matter how many objections you have against science, but the truth is, my dear friend, that you yourself know how much science has contributed towards the well-being of humanity. As a matter of fact, on a day-to-day basis, science has tremendously made our lives worth living. In my opinion, we, being the most intelligent species of this nature, have a huge responsibility of protecting nature as well as controlling it whenever need be. Thank you.
Thank you both. Next to come forward will be code F04 to speak for the motion. Code F04.
The great physicist Richard P. Feynman once quoted, "I think nature's imagination is so much more than man's. She is never going to let us relax." Good evening to the respectable jury and my worthy opponents. I'm F4 and I strongly support the motion. Science has failed to tame nature. Nature and the very genesis of our planet are synonymous. Science, on the other hand, has only just evolved. So how can science possibly claim to understand such an enormous phenomena as nature itself? Can a few thousand years of its nascent existence tame the omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent nature? Humanity survived for an infinite time without any evident existence of science. Yes, science has brought about a change. Yes, we have evolved from nomads into an intelligent species. Yes, science has played a major role in this development. But nature? No, my dear friends. Nature goes beyond science, defying its rules at every step of our evolution. Allow me to corroborate my stand. Take a look at what wind speeds of 260 kilometers per hour did to the city of Kolkata. Scores of people die in tsunamis, earthquakes, cyclones, lightning strikes, forest fires, and various others. A very recent example of forest fires being Australia. And even with all the science at our disposal, have we been able to control all these? No. I repeat, a vehement no. My worthy opponents talk about taming nature, but do they realize how massive a claim it is? The very concept of disaster management accepts the fact that science is incapable of controlling these natural calamities. Science has not been able to control a virus outbreak. Thousands of people have perished over the course of these 6 months. And what has science done? Has it found a cure? Has science been able to control the outbreak? Can science promise to prevent such calamities in the future? The answer, once again, is a no, no, and a no. And here you are talking about taming nature. Has science really been able to control human nature itself and prevent suicides for that matter, or understand the minds of criminals and serial killers? Has science been able to procure a medicine that can correct their ways of thinking? If science really is in control, why then are we frantically searching for answers to so many unsolved and untamable issues? Why is climate change a serious threat? Why do floods wash away village after village? So my worthy opponents, the list to whys is endless, and science has no answer. Therefore, science has a long, long way to go before it can even claim to understand nature, let alone tame it. Picture this: 1918 Spanish flu, measures taken, masks, quarantine, and social distancing. 2020 coronavirus, measures taken, masks, quarantine, and social distancing. In other words, we are where we were 100 years ago. I rest my case. Thank you.
I invite interjector I04 to question F04. Interjector I04.
Good evening. My question is to the speaker, F04. In all the instances you have argued against science, it's actually man who has misused and manipulated science to serve his vested interests. Why do you blame science for that?
My dear interjector, is science in control of humans, or is human in control of science? Who created science in the first place? Was it not us? Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. I stand with those who favor fire, going by this famous poem of Robert Frost. I'll quote, "It is human desire for development and human desire for privileges that caused science to be in the first place." And what has science done time and time again? The moment it tried to control nature, nature retaliated back in a negative way. Let's talk about our ancestors. Our ancestors were more in harmony and in sync with nature than we are today. Science is the one who has polluted and exploited nature for the past 100, 200 years of its existence. So if I'll not blame science, then who is to blame? Should I blame man? No, I will blame science, because science is the one responsible. Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
We now have code A04 to oppose the motion. Code A04.
One small step for man, a giant leap for mankind. Good evening, jury members and worthy debaters. The House believes that science has failed to tame nature, and I strongly oppose the motion. The prophetic statement of Neil Armstrong justifies my proposition. From the hunted to the hunters, from gatherers to farmers and to the explorers of outer space, How do my fellow friends ever think of crisscrossing this cosmos without science? On a bullock cart? Mind you, here again you're using wheel, one of the greatest scientific inventions ever. Nature and nature's secrets lay hidden in the night. God said, "Let science be!" And there was light. Merriam-Webster defines tame as reduced from a state of native wildness to be useful to humans. So what is wrong if we humans are trying to tame and harness nature for our benefits? This is what science is all about. Take a look around, my dear contestants. Harnessing energy sources, hydel, tidal, wind, solar, nuclear, disease control, robotics, genetics, cloning, genome mapping. And now, Higgs boson, God's particle, to feed and foster, nourish and nurture, sustain and survive the teeming billions. Yes, anything and everything, literally and figuratively. Aladdin's magic lamp may have its limitations, but science is simply inescapable and unstoppable. Agreed. Some natural disasters like flood, tsunami, and earthquake are unpredictable. Agreed. COVID-19 exposes us to the vagaries of pandemic. Agreed. All propositions of my worthy debaters. But then, science does come forward as the only silver line. The same science has ensured minimal damage during natural disasters. The same science has cured malaria, tuberculosis, polio, plague, and countless other diseases. If the same science can predict the cyclones today, the same science will surely predict the floods and quakes tomorrow. Just wait, dear friends. The best is yet to come with artificial intelligence. Who says science created global warming or ozone depletion or water and air pollution? It is not science, but our greed and insatiable hunger, responsible for destruction and mayhem all around. I think, therefore I exist, said Rene Descartes. We may be social to some and emotional to others, but essentially, we are logical and rational. Should we have gently surrender before nature, red in tooth and claw? No way. Stop taming nature from within and without and wait for the doomsday. After all, man is mortal. Why taming nature if everything is from dust to dust and ashes to ashes? Please note, no taming, no progress. More taming, more progress. Thank you.
Finally, I invite interjector I04 to question A04. Interjector I04.
My question is to the speaker, A04. As per the finite understanding of nature, there were 2 trillion galaxies. Just the Milky Way galaxy alone consists of 25,000 crore stars. This is the magnificence of the infinite nature. I feel that the science, which is just a mere speck, cannot control the infinite nature. What is your take on this?
Madam Interjector, all the knowledge that you bombarded, do you know who has provided this? It is science that gave you all this information. Firstly, we believe that only Earth is the center of this universe. But science cleared our doubts. And now we know that yes, the universe is infinite. And well, we are coming up with cloning, gene splicing, artificial intelligence, and so much more. Why? Madam Interjector, it is because we have already tamed Earth, and now we are going to expand this control to outer space. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, Madam Interjector. Firstly, we'll reach Moon and conquer it, then Mars, and then well, the infinite space that you talked about. Science has definitely not failed to tame nature. Thank you.
Thank you both. Push your boundaries beyond the ordinary, and that extra is extraordinary. Thank you, students, for your strident arguments proposing and opposing the motion. To encourage all the extremely talented participants, I now invite Professor Shaila Rehana to address all. Please, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. It was a very encouraging scene on the debating grounds, and it's heartening to see young students engaging in scholastic debate. And this give and take of debate is the testing of ideas, and it is essential to democracy. But it is sad to see the violent outbursts that we find on TV, which is passed off as debate. Now, debate is an intellectual controversy and not a show of lung power, as projected by the media. So, as members of civil society, as students and adults, we must understand that debate is not a conflict, it is not a fight. For all the students present here and as adults, we must learn to agree to disagree. That is to agree to differ. So on news channels and on social media, people are trolled and bullied for voicing their opinions. If we disagree with a person, he or she does not become our enemy. We must have the decency to accept differing opinions. Here, I would like to quote Evelyn Beatrice Hall, who is best known for the biography of Voltaire, who says, "I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to death your right to say it." So, which means that I want others to respect my opinion and beliefs. I should also respect theirs. This is where debating comes in. So in life, students will encounter issues where they will feel the need to debate. And they should debate in order to convince people by deploying rational, reasoned arguments, not opinions, because nobody cares for opinions. Everyone who has a tongue has an opinion. So in a debate, the arguments that we forward should be supported by compelling evidence, data, facts, and figures to make them valid. And we have seen here that the students have done a very good job of debating and bringing in their argument and supporting them with facts, figures, and data. So all debaters need to understand that there is no one totalitarian truth, but a better truth that is born of discussion. That is why debate and discussion are important. The purpose of debate is to set forth on a quest to arrive at the best decision after analyzing all the options available. So I congratulate each one of you who have participated in this scholastic debate and made their mark here. Thank you for inviting me to this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for gracing the occasion. Next, I invite Dr. Harini Jayaraman to share her thoughts with us.
Good afternoon. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You are. You are. Please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. It has been my pleasure to be a part of this beautiful debate that has been happening for the past 45 minutes. And let me first thank you for inviting me to be one of the judges. And the question that has been given to the students is really very, very interesting. We are living today in a pandemic world, and this question looms large in everybody's mind, and so it does in our minds also. And I do wholeheartedly congratulate all the participants who have fiercely talked either for or against, and the sweet interjections that have been happening. I appreciate the efforts of the students, because in 3 minutes flat, they have to present all the information that they have And the interjectors have to use only half the time that has been given to the main speakers. So it was very interesting to see them compress all the information and put it across as simple and lucid and clear as possible. So let my congratulations be, put on record. And let me now move on to the conduct of the debate itself. So the important part of a debate is the number of points that are put forth, the way in which they are put forth, and the ability to answer the queries that come up. Yes. So I would say that all the participants have shown that they are very good at all these things and they have done justice to the topic that they have been given. It was indeed very difficult for me to find out who is better than whom, even if it is slightly by point one or two. But as a judge, I had to be using my discretion and I had to, with a heavy heart, give them scores which may be helping them to gain a prize. Okay, so I don't know whether I have done justice to that or not, but I found that all of them were doing a really good job. And some of the points that came up was really worth going through. How much I was just wondering how the team that was going to speak against put forth their ideas. But I was really happy that they were able to come up with very good points. But the most important thing is, see, man-made disasters, some of the participants were talking about. Yes, man-made disasters are caused by the wrongdoings of man. But nature comes upon us. Do we have the technology, the know-how to fight it? So nature is something that is not actually within the means of man to tame. We all know about that. And we need to go to some scientists like Einstein, who has said that reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. So we have, as mankind, we have all been chasing this illusion, and it has been a very persistent one. As the participants pointed out, they have been doing an excellent, that is, mankind has been evolved throughout these few centuries, and we have come to a point where we are able to handle situations, but we are not able to prevent them. So that is the limitation of man. And man is also a creature, a creation of nature. So we are also a product, and we are handling, or we are trying to handle the other products. So there is the limitation, and we have to accept it with a pinch of salt. I don't think we will be able to tame nature, but we will be able to handle the nature as it is, if we also become a part of that nature. So I'm very glad to be giving my point of view. I would like to give a few points which the students have given, but I don't want to repeat myself because I was so carried away by the points, and I want to wholeheartedly congratulate them again. And I'm very thankful to the management for having me here as a part of the judges panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to you, ma'am, for being here with us. I would now like to invite Dr. Hitant Vora to address us all.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me to judge this competition. It was a pleasure to hear all these participants, and I must congratulate them that they have put across their point brilliantly. They have actually researched, they have looked, we have the help, and as it comes back to it, science, internet, which they have used. Some of them have used the latest situation that we are all going through. So yes, really brilliantly put forward their points. And as they say, well, when we talk about a debate, so a debate is something to allow oneself to understand the other's arguments, no matter how divergent their views are. So it was actually, they had, even the interjectors had asked the questions and they had answered it well. It was nice. Now, coming from a science background, being a medical professional, I would say I would rather go that science has helped us a lot, but I would like to also put across that it is the humans who need to be tamed first, because as they say, it's the humans who have worked and looked up with science, worked with science and created so many inventions and things which are making our lives easier. But when it goes to a person who has a greed or an evil mind, it can create a havoc. So well done, students. And I must say that these youngsters are our future, and our future is in safe hands. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing your views. Finally, I call upon Mr. Kunal Ray to speak to us all.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad I'm speaking at the end, because this is the advantage of being the last speaker on the panel, because you just have to merely echo what your co-panelists have said. And I agree with everything that has been said so far, what Dr. Voda said, what Dr. Jayaraman said. So I have very little to add to what has already been said. I must say that I was extremely happy to see that these are students of class 9 and 10, and how well informed they are about where they live, the challenges facing the world. And it's wonderful to see young people, young residents of a democracy who are so well informed. I think one small interjection, if I may make, is that I think we don't have to necessarily always think of science and nature in conflict. I think we could also think of coexistence, right, and peaceful coexistence. And since today is 15th of August, and coexistence is one of the most important constitutional values, and I'm sure we'll think of that. It was wonderful listening to all of you. And if I may also borrow from what Dr. Jayaraman was saying, I'm sure we'll have a tough time deciding a winner, and there could be one winner or maybe more than one winner. But I think what will stay with you is your preparation, all that you read to prepare for this debate, to engage in this conversation. And I don't think this is the end of the conversation. For me, this is the beginning of the conversation, because you might have found and sort of a scientist to engage with, a thinker, a sociologist, a writer to engage with. So for me, this is the beginning of the conversation. So regardless of today's result, don't think of this as the end of your conversation or thinking about this topic. I think this is the genesis, and I hope you think more about this. And my congratulations to all of you and the organizers for organizing such a wonderful debate competition, and all the best for your future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Your comments were brief, but they had a lot to say. So thank you so much. It is said that it is better to debate a question without settling it than to settle a question without debating it. Today, we've just done that, and we are thankful to the enthusiastic young debaters who took the floor with passion and conviction. The students who participated today were Akshat Bariyar, 10I, Sara, 10G, Atirek Bhaskar, 10D from DPS Patna, Shantanu Chaparia, 10E, Shubham Singh, 10C, and Sarvagya Sanat Kumar, 9C from DPS Pune, Ashi Uppal, 10B, Twinkle Gupta, 9E, and Maniba Jain, 9D from DPS Ludhiana. And finally, Deepti K, 10A, Deepak K, 10A, and U Dhanusri, class 9A from DPS Coimbatore. With this, we come to the end of the 3-day oratorical fiesta, which began with a staggering number of entries received from students of classes 4 to 10 from Patna, Pune, Ludhiana, and Coimbatore. The finalists were selected after several rounds of audition conducted separately at each location from 16th to 22nd July over digital platforms. Needless to mention, the selection of finalists was a daunting task, and each applicant outshone the other. Rigorous online practice sessions culminated in the finale of the elocution competition on August 13 for classes 4 and 5, declamation on August 14 for classes 6 to 8, and debate competition today for classes 9 and 10. We must also applaud and praise the spirit and enthusiasm here today of all those students who enrolled for this event but could not make it to the finals. Their spark and spunk will certainly be rewarded through other platforms for participation, as several such virtual activities have been planned in the near future. Finally, we thank the judges who have graced this virtual platform. Thank you so much. The result for the debate competition will be declared through a mailer, and it will also be uploaded on the DPS website by late evening. Freedom is hammered on the anvil of discussion, dissent, and most importantly, debate. And what greater joy than to celebrate the freedom of words on the occasion of our nation's 74th Independence Day today. Wishing all happy Independence Day. Jai Hind. Thank you.